Hello, and welcome to the Advocacy and Water Protection in Native California Speaker Series and Certification Program. Today we are presenting on outreach and media, and I am coming to you today from Karuk land in Northern California on the Klamath River. This is the second to the last of our series, and we are working to post all the presentations and related resources online, and we are working to share them with educators and to create curriculum based on this series. If you would like to help, please let us know. We hope you can join us also next week for our final webinar series on youth organizing with the Klamath Tribes Youth Council, the Hoopa High School's Water Protectors Club, Roque Climate, Ancestral Guard, and Connecticut Lowry. We are really excited about this panel with young youth leaders. And we really hope you can join us because as with all of ours series this month, we will be taking action for Northern California's rivers. As you know, this is Water Action August, and that's why we are taking action for our rivers. Our rivers are extremely threatened right now, and we are looking at a situation where Warren Buffett's Pacific Corps is saying they might not move forward with Klamath Dam removal. So it's an important time to take action for our rivers, and we really hope you can join us. We're also asking people to take action along with for the Klamath to help stop the Shasta Dam raise and to stop the Delta tunnels. And we will be putting things into the chat, to the actions you can take today into the chat later within this webinar. We also wanted to announce that we are doing a conference based on this series at the end of September, and we are welcoming proposals from the Speaker Series and Certification Program. And we are welcoming proposals from everyone listening to this program and water protectors across the globe whose activism or research addresses critical issues concern to the lives of Indigenous peoples and water worldwide. We encourage diverse presentation formats, including papers or oral presentations, roundtables and panels, workshops, and creative work. There will be more information put in the chat and on our website and on all our social media pages on this conference within the next couple days. We also want to acknowledge that there are fires all over California right now and COVID-19 crisis within a lot of the reservations and areas that we work within. We are thinking of the people who are dealing with the fires and evacuating right now and all the people who are in lockdown. And on that, we really wanted to make sure to thank our presenters today as they are on the front lines of helping with the COVID-19 crisis and dealing with fires and with roving blackouts within their areas. So we really ask you to bear with us today based on that. We also wanted to, I wanted to say that if anyone feels like donating to California Kitchen, they are making meals for people in Hoopa who are unable to leave due to the fact that they have COVID-19, and they are always available to help with things like that. You can also donate PPE to our communities, or you can donate to our fund to provide technology to people within these communities. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for all your continued support. With that, I want to move into the subject matter for today, which I think is critically important, although not always the most celebrated of the subjects that we deal with, which is creating media and outreach related to water protection campaigns. We're really excited today that we have Allie Hostler from the Rivers Tribune, and that we have Terria Smith from News from Native California joining us by phone due to a roving blackout in her area. So I'm going to start with a short presentation, kind of just talking about what is media and outreach and how do you go about it and how do you go about sharing your story and being a speaker on your issues. It might take me just 1 second to share my screen. All right. Well, today we're talking about outreach and media as it relates to water protection in California. I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not skipping. Oh, there we go. There are many different ways that you can share your story. There's print media, there's video media, there's social media, radio and podcasts, art, and self-published media. Print media includes weekly or daily newspapers and magazines. TV media includes nightly news, more full-length shows like in-depth journalism and documentaries. And of course, radio can be community radio, more mainstream radio, or do-it-yourself radio like podcasts. One thing that I think that's really important to remember is that there's many different ways to share your story and not just one. There's also many ways, like I said, to create DIY or do-it-yourself media. That can include creating flyers and publication, writing your own articles, creating websites, creating petitions and action alerts, making professional videos and documentaries, or making your own action videos, just live, low-quality videos on your phone. There's also creating and sharing educational materials. Remember, educating each other is part of outreach. And you can also host events and meetings. There's also direct outreach, which is like working within your community, in-person, one-on-one meetings. If people have other ways that they feel like are ways to outreach to your communities and you want to drop them in the chat right now, feel free to do that, because I know there are just so many ways that we can share our stories with each other. The most important thing to remember when you're doing media is to be prepared, to keep it simple, and to communicate very clearly. A lot of us are really into our issues, and we can present them in a very complex way where we can kind of assume that the audience knows what we're talking about. And I've had to talk with some of our youth doing media about the fact that some people in California don't even have rivers near them or know what a river is. So it's just really important to be very clear and concise, but also to not assume that your audience is coming from a place where they know anything at all about your issue. So while you're thinking about this, think, how do you communicate your issue in an easy to understand way? How does your communication impact your community? What are the facts and what decisions are being made that you're trying to relay to your audience? What are you asking your audience to do? Who are impacted and who are the spokespeople and communicators that you want to make sure are part of this story? Who are the adversaries or people working against you? Have you studied your adversaries' points and counter arguments? And what, like as a short example, say, would be, we've worked really hard to share how important the rivers are in our communities. And we've constantly had to go back against people like the Westlands Water District, who put out a narrative that they're feeding America and that we are environmentalists getting in their way. But really, it's not, it's not rivers versus farmers or fish versus food, because fish are food in our community, and the rivers feed people, and the rivers are places where we get our drinking water from. So it's really good to think about how you communicate these things, but also how the people who might communicate from the other side are planning to communicate, because if you can deal with their talking points before they say them, it really helps change the narrative. It's also good to remember that not everyone is good at everything, but everyone has something to add. Not all of us can do public speaking, and not all of us can write. So that's why it's so good when we work within teams and community. I know I rely a lot on more professional writers to help me with my writing, and I know people who rely on me to help them with their public speaking. So it's just really good to help each other and to not try to push people into things that they don't feel ready for. So now we're going to go in really quickly, because I think Allie and Terria will talk about it more. Press releases, advisories, and statements. This is how you get your word out to a more mainstream audience, such as newspapers or TV stations. So when dealing with the mainstream media, the main way you get your issue out in front of a reporter is by issuing press releases, statements, and advisories. These need to be timely and focused around an event or a decision or something that is happening right now in order for your story to get covered. You need to cover who, what, where, and why in both the release and the advisory. The news moves very fast, so it's good to have statements and press releases ready if you're expecting a decision or an event. You can always change it quickly if it's not the decision you expected. If you do not want to engage the other side, Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why. Oh, sorry. You will have to engage the other side, but it's important to realize how overworked reporters are. And that if the other side puts out a press release and you do not, or you do not call reporters when there's a decision being made, they're very overworked and they're probably not going to call you. So it's important to make sure to contact the media, to do your press release, statement, or advisories, and to include clear titles, information, and contact information. First, research your press contacts and create a contact list. Press advisories will be short, less than a page, and they're usually released several days ahead of time before your event or before you're expecting a decision. That way the media knows to expect to hear from you. And it's good to give them a call for a heads up too. Press releases are longer, maybe 1 to 1.5 pages, and they will include quotes from impacted people and help tell your story. Press statements are usually just a quote that deals with what you want to be put in a story based on someone else's press release. So a situation that would happen is, say, your local congressman puts out a press release saying that they made a decision related to an issue that impacts you. Then you might want to just put out a short 1-paragraph statement. These are some examples of press releases. This is the press release we did for the July for the series. As you can see, we have contact information, where we are, what we're doing, a couple quotes, and then a schedule. All press releases are different, but this could be considered a template. Then we have opinions, editorials, and LTEs. Opinion is about 500 to 700 words long, and it covers an issue that is important to the publication or deals with the story. These should come from well-known or impacted people and tell their story. This does not have to cover the other side, and it has to be factual, but you're allowed to insert how you feel in it. And it's important to do that. A letter to the editor is about 150 to 200 words long and also deals with current events, but it's a lot easier to get published. And an editorial will come from the publication themselves. Editorials and opinions are preferred by some very overworked news outlets. However, they're not always easy to get. As with press releases and reporters, you need to meet with the reporters or the editorial board, educate them, and talk with them as much as possible. Getting a meeting is really a good thing if you can get a meeting with an editorial board, because an editorial is probably the most impactful and hard to accomplish of these three. But if the LA Times puts out an editorial saying that the Klamath Dam should be removed, it's going to have a lot more impact than if Save California Salmon does. So then we can get into press conferences, interviews, and public speaking. If you're going to be doing a press conference or a rally, make sure to bring a press packet or your press release, and make sure to send a press advisory beforehand so that they know that this is happening. The reporters know this is happening. Make sure to assign appropriate speakers that speak to the issues at hand. I've seen quite a few press conferences and rallies where random people just start talking, and that could be the clip that gets played on the news. So you're really going to want people to be controlling your microphone in these situations because you don't want to look crazy. Make sure that you assign a press liaison, which would be the person going up to the person with the video camera and saying, hey, do you want to do any interviews? Do you know what's happening today? But that's not necessarily the person doing the interviews, because you don't want to have one person to have too many tasks. Make sure you know your talking points. Don't get off your talking points. Practice a lot. Don't get thrown off your game, but if you do, keep going. It's okay to say you're sorry and just keep going. It's also good to know, especially when you're getting interviewed, it's okay to not answer a question, and it's okay to say that you don't know something. An example, when we do these in person, which we can't do on Zoom, we do practicing. So maybe I would ask someone a question like, well, why do you want to shut down farms in California? And then my answer would be, we don't. We think we think farms and rivers can coexist, But the fact is, salmon are food in our communities, and we're here to speak for our communities, and then turn it back to your talking points. You don't have to go down a rabbit hole of someone else's issues, especially if it's an unsympathetic reporter, because if you say something mean or confusing, that could be what they play. Oops. So these are examples of pages of talking points. And it's important if you're working on an issue and you're helping do a press conference that you make sure that the people who might speak know the talking points. And it's also important that random people know the talking points too, because sometimes the reporters will go right up to them and be like, tell me about the issue. And it's really important that everyone there knows who your media spokespeople are and can bring the reporters to them, and that you have that person who is supposed to be the media liaison. But things can go wrong. So you want everyone there to be fairly educated, especially because a lot of our rallies or press conferences are right before public comment periods. And, we want to make sure everyone knows what the issues are and understands them. Sometimes stories work out the way you want, and sometimes they don't. Breaking down false narratives is part of doing media. And also, the media work is not done once the story is printed. So even if you get a story you don't like, you can call that reporter and educate them and let them know why that story might not be accurate or might not show all of the different points of view, because that reporter might still be there next time something happens. And if they understand the issue better, then that's a good thing to know. And it's all learning experiences, learning what the other side might say or the way that things could get covered poorly. It's good. So these are 3 examples. One is the salmon showdown in Indians versus fishermen. That is not the way that we usually want our stories to be covered. We want a bigger pie, not everyone fighting over the last salmon. So that's something that's, we worked really hard to build alliances to say, no, we want more salmon. We don't want to fight over them. But it's sensational, the way to cover the story. So this could happen, and it's good to know, and it's good to think about it beforehand. Another one, I'm actually in this article, which is funny, but state board cuts water supply for California homes and farms. What actually happened in this situation is the state board voted to provide more flows for salmon during certain times of year. So this is like an example, and this was on the Weather Channel webpage. So this was an extremely popular national story, and an example of the story was a little better, but the headline was very sensational, and it made us look pretty bad as people fighting for our rivers, like we were trying to steal water from people's homes. And then this one, the last one, is an example of a really well done opinion, saying exactly what we wanted to say at the time. And that's that Governor Newsom should do more than just apologize to Native people. He should actually work to help restore their lands and to restore their salmon runs. So yeah, there's lots of different ways this could all play out, is the point of that. And it's always a good idea to create your own media, because truthfully, that's the only way you're going to be covered the way you want to be covered. And people get pretty excited about media that's covered the way they want to see. Unfortunately, I accidentally cut off one of these flyers, but write your own stories and shop it around to publications. You'll be hearing later on very soon, on what newspapers want to see when you write a story. Create your own publication, create your own memes, social media posts. We'll also be talking about that today. Make and share videos. You can also consider paid placements or ads if there's someone particular you're trying to get to. I mean, that's the other side does that a lot. So it's okay for us to think about that too, if we can make enough money to do it. And always remember to share knowledge, respect each other's skills, and help each other. And so with that, later on in the program, what we're going to do is we're going to have Allie Hostler from the Rivers Tribune talk for a while. And then we're going to have Terria Smith from News from Native California talk. And then we are going to have Pua Floenfa, sorry, I said it wrong, talk about social media and how social media plays into this. And we are really hoping we'll have enough time to show a couple short videos, both high quality videos that show what you can do with video, but also low quality action videos that can go out right away, because the sharing video is also very important, but we don't have anyone who's an expert on this here today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Allie Hostler, who might not be able to stay for the question and answer because she's also dealing with the COVID-19 crisis in Hoopa right now. But we're so excited that she's able to be with us. And if you have questions for her and she can't stay for the question and answer, we can see if we can follow up with her later. So thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm Allie Hostler. I'm the editor of the Two Rivers Tribune, which is our office is headquartered in Hoopa, but we serve all of the river communities from as far up the Klamath as Happy Camp. We have papers on stands in Happy Camp. We have papers on stands in Eureka, not Eureka, I'm sorry, I got interrupted. Lewiston, as far east as Lewiston on the Trinity, Witchpeck, Orleans, Hoopa, so Willow Creek. So we're serving the areas on the Klamath and Trinity River in the lower Klamath. We do our best. Right now we're short-staffed with just me and one staff writer. That makes it difficult to do the job that we want to do. We want to do a much better job. We want to cover issues more in depth, but we're simply just doing the work of a staff of 5 with 2. So we really encourage people to send in opinion pieces, press releases, letters to the editor. Opinion pieces are a very effective way of saying what you want to say and not having to worry about a reporter taking something out of context or not covering the issue at the depth you wanted them to cover it, or missing a big piece of the story that you think is important. Opinion pieces are a way to get what you want to say in the paper. That's speaking for my paper, but it's also, I think that's true for a lot of the local papers. A lot of us are really understaffed and short on variety. We're short on variety. We have a couple of freelance reporters here and there, but not a whole lot of consistent variety. So I really encourage people to do op-eds and opinions. And then once it's published, you can push to have it, a link online that could be shared via social media. And you can push other news organizations to find that piece or use that piece, like say Indian Country Today. You might have wrote an excellent op-ed and published it in the Two Rivers Tribune. You could also send it to Indian Country Today, and then boom, your story just went national. So that's kind of a little tip for getting things in more quickly and having them be more accurate to what you want to say. The other thing I was going to say, press releases are great too, but most people, am I disconnected?
You're on.
Am I still there?
Yep. You're fine.
Okay, sorry. I got a phone call, so it just took my screen away. But so press releases are also effective, but in order to get a newspaper to run your press release verbatim, you sorry, I gotta close that call. You really have to be sure that you're writing it in like third person and including quotes and using short, succinct sentences and including who, what, where, why, when. So, it helps, like, use Regina's samples of press releases. Hers are really great. It's best if they're one page. I know it can be tricky when you're trying to explain a complex issue to get it into one page, but that really is appreciated. And have your main speakers have their quotes already written and approved by them, of course. Because a lot of times someone might not run your whole press release, but they might take a quote that you have already approved because they're missing a piece of the story or whatnot. So make sure you are quoting people. Make sure you're quoting the appropriate people. Find a variety of voices on your topic so that it makes the article or release more robust, and find the stories that aren't being told, like the same issue, but the personal stories or the anecdotes that really, that find a variety of those, find a variety of speakers. Oftentimes on these river issues, it's been kind of the same voices over and over and over. And we like to hear new voices. We like to hear a different piece of the story as it relates to the same issue. So let's see what else I could recommend. Always send photos, even if you don't feel like you're a photographer. Snap a few on your iPhone. If you notice that, say you're at an action or you're at the river, say you're at an action, snap a few photos. You see other people snapping photos, ask them to send them to you, so that you can create a photo archive. Because whether you're at an action or not, or whether your press advisory or release is related to an action right then, you can use those photos. If you archive them and save them, you can use them in the future to help build visuals with your story. When you look through a newspaper, if anybody does that anymore, or if you look online, you see a photo helps draw attention, or it helps tell the story. If it was just text, most people skim right by, unfortunately. So draw people in with some nice photos, save photos, organize your photos, so when an issue comes up, you have something to send a reporter, a newspaper, or online magazine, or whatnot. You always want to make sure that you send your highest quality photos. So like if you're using an iPhone, make sure that you say send, largest version or whatnot, so it's reproducible without being, that's the difference between the internet shrinking it to this size versus it coming, this size, or even, able to use it as a front page photo or whatnot. So just be sure to send reporters or newspapers the full size version. Let's see. Know your area. If you are doing an action, say in Klamath Falls, and you want to get the word out to the reporters, sending a press advisory a couple of days ahead of time helps reporters, understand. They put it on their calendar. Oh, there's going to be an action at, wherever, the A Canal or whatever, and you, in that advisory, advisory could be as easy as, one paragraph explaining what's happening, where, when, and you could have a couple of quotes, and then contact, like press contact, like at least 2 people's name and phone number. That way, if the first person isn't available to answer their phone, the second person hopefully will be. So have 2 press contacts, ideally 2 press contacts on each press release, sometimes more. Make sure that their names are spelled correctly so that the reporter doesn't have to hunt down name spelling. I don't know if I'm going too in depth, Regina. I hope I'm being helpful. Let's see. Short video clips. Say you're sending a press release, or you're sending a press, any of those things. If you have short video clips and you're sending it to a TV station or TV news or online news, send your video clips. People, the news stations love B-roll, especially if they can't be on site. They'll use it. If you have it and you send it, they'll use it. Also, find your team's talent. Like if you're organizing and you have a group of people who are pushing forward an issue, then you're working with this team, right? You're organizing together already. So you can kind of identify who has the skills to do what. And like Regina said, identify a press liaison. If you're short on people on your team, some people might have to take on multiple roles. Work together to draft your press advisory. Like I said, it doesn't need to be long or complex, but it needs to have basic information. And figure out, who can take the photos, who can be in charge of, once it's all completed, sending it to the news agency. And I think Regina had a really good point about how the clock's ticking. We're all on deadlines. My deadlines are every Friday at 5, and I'm a weekly paper. So every Friday at 5, I kind of I kind of inventory my content, my news budget. What's in my news budget? What do I have to work with? And that is, that's the deadline. And each weekly will have their own deadline. And then, online news sources, not so much. But I'm sure Terria's publication has strict deadlines. I mean, once we print the paper, you can't call us up on Tuesday and be like, can you include this? And we're like, no, it's on the shelves. Sorry. So, just be mindful of people's deadlines, know your community. Oh, where was I at? Klamath Falls. Like, okay, so you're doing an action in Klamath Falls. You might want to look around and see what media organizations are located there. So you're like, oh, there's the Klamath Herald and News. I think I'll call them and let them know we're coming. So you might want to email them your press advisory, follow up with a phone call. And then when they show up at the action, you'll see the little guy with khaki pants or the young, lady, and she'll have her tablet or she's writing, or they'll have a camera. You'll be able to know. You go walk up to them and be like, hey, I'm Allie from, Save California Salmon. Would you like to do an interview? I can set you up with, and then you have your contact with their person and you find them. And, it's important to do all those things if you really want to get your story out there. So a lot of this organizing and activism and things that all these groups are doing, I mean, one of the biggest goals is to get the media attention. That's what changes public perception. That's what helps change public perception. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Terria, and then I'm okay. I blocked everything out until 1. So if there are any questions, I'm sticking around for the whole webinar. So thanks, guys.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you. And I'm going to share my screen for your presentation right now.
Okay. Let me know when that's ready, and yeah, I'll get started. But I guess I can start too by just introducing myself. My name's Terria Smith, and I'm a tribal member from the Torres Martinez Desert Kuya Indians in Southern California in the eastern end of the Coachella Valley. And I've been the editor of News from Native California magazine for the past 5 years. My area where I'm at, or where I was, I'm actually back on the res now, but my area had a scheduled power outage, just because of the fires for preventative measures today. So that's why I'm calling in. But today I just wanted to give you like a step-by-step on how to get your story published in the magazine specifically. This is based on some of the questions that come up when people are asking about submissions and how the magazine works. I have a slide presentation that has deadlines and everything, just so you have a clear picture. And I'll give you a little bit of background about the magazine as well, so you can find out if this is the best venue if you wanted to share your story with us.
Okay, well,
is the slideshow ready?
Yep, it's ready.
Okay. All right. So you can go to the second slide that's on the background about the magazine. Okay. So the magazine was founded in 1987, and it's published by Heyday Books, and it's as part of the Berkeley Roundhouse program, which is the California Indian Publishing Department with the organization. So the magazine itself, the print magazine, is quarterly. It's a quarterly publication that focuses solely on tribes that are indigenous to California. So we don't cover issues that are outside of California tribes. And so it's just indigenous tribes of California. Sometimes we get people coming in looking for stories for Indians who live in California, but not California Indian people. We only cover stories for California Indian people. So we're the voice, or we could serve as a voice for California Indian people by California Indian people. We primarily have an arts and cultures focus, but we do publish pieces on history, social justice, environmental issues, and an array of other topics. If you could just do the next slide, slide 3, that focuses on environmental issues. Okay, so we're almost always open to accepting environmentally focused stories in the print edition of the magazine, unless we're set to have a theme or something. Sometimes our publications have a theme. We'll partner with other organizations, and so the whole magazine has like a focus. But if outside of that, we usually are very, very open to taking environmentally focused stories. We've even had entire issues that were focused on nature and environment. In fact, it was, I believe, the spring of 2018, I believe, where we had an environmentally focused issue, and it was our most popular issue as far as submissions went. If you could go to the next slide, that's about the print edition of the magazine. So one thing that's important to note is that the publication, News from Native California, it's a submission-based magazine. So this means that the majority of what the magazine of what's published in the magazine is written by community members rather than staff. I'm the only full-time staff member on News from Native California, and we do have 2 other contracted positions for design and for copy editing or proofreading. But so as you can imagine, for the entire state of California, more than 100 federally recognized tribes, and then another 50 or so that are unrecognized. There's with one person that works there full time, and it would be quite a challenge for me to write stories all over. So we really, really depend on people turning in stories to us. And the majority of readership, just so you know, are California Native people themselves. So a lot of people would look at this as being like preaching to the choir and everything like that. But what's important to note about this is that our readers, whether they're California Native people or not, are people that deeply care about California Native issues and challenges and topics. So you will have a very engaged audience that's willing to take action on something that they feel is important. Let me see, I did that part already, but it's something that you'll commonly find that newsrooms are understaffed. Probably not as understaffed as the magazine, but yeah, they're strapped for content, and so the easier you make it for them and for us, the more likely you'll be to get published. So that means providing written content, just as was mentioned before, right, Allie, photos and that sort of thing. We always need photos. And the higher resolution, about 300 dpi is ideal for us. I mean, we can publish pictures that are lower resolution, but they'll just be really, really small. We have an offset printer rather than a digital printer, so smaller resolution photos, they don't turn up as good. So in addition to news stories, we also accept art, photography, poetry, news stories. I mean, not everybody is maybe inclined to write a news story or a press release or anything like that. And poetry and art can be very powerful as well. We've gotten some really good work from activists about a variety of different issues who've maybe painted a picture or done a drawing that conveys a really powerful message on what's going on in their community or their community's history. So that's something that we take as well. Essays, short stories, open letters, and opinion pieces we've also published. So pretty much anything with a California Native focus we'll accept for the magazine. We have deadlines every quarter, and I've listed them on the slide, and I've memorized them in my head. So for the fall issue, the deadline was August 1st. The winter deadline is November 1st. The spring deadline is March 1st, and the summer deadline is May 1st. Now, these are super, super important. Most of the times, and I really shouldn't say most of the times, but generally we have a little bit of wiggle room, but we've had instances where we've gotten so many submissions that we can't be flexible on the deadline, because if not, then we'll never get around to putting the magazine together because stuff keeps coming in. So please be mindful of the deadlines and everything. They are important. A magazine goes through a whole lot of, it goes through a long process. And once, we started the process of developing the magazine, we can't just throw stuff in. But there are other options if you're outside of the deadline time. And so if you would go to the next slide on the website, slide number 5. Now for the website, we can accept submissions anytime. I know a lot of folks prefer to be in the printed magazine, but if you're outside of the deadline time, it's, you would have to wait, months until the next issue. And if you have something that's, this is the best option for breaking news and press releases, things that you want distributed right away, it's best to send it in to the magazine through and ask for it to be placed on the website, which happens, every now and then. Folks, ask us, can you post this on the website for us? In the event that you're unable to write a story yourself, we have a couple of writers who can help out if they're available. Again, since it's submission based, we don't have staff writers. These are folks that, that basically take time out of their own jobs and schedules to help us out because they enjoy writing. So if you can't write it yourself or don't have anybody in the community that can write it, we have a couple of people who we can ask to help us out. Also, if you have any events that are going on or things that you want people to know about, rallies, demonstrations, gatherings, all such as that, we have an online events calendar, and we can accept entries for this as well if you turn them in to us. If you go to the next slide on social media, now the magazine, we don't have an enormous following. We probably have like a combined following from all of our platforms of about maybe close to 20,000. But that following, again, as I had mentioned before, they're very, very engaged. So if there's something that you want people to know about, and it can gain a lot of traction, because generally our followers, they'll share things, and you get a whole bunch of views for things that people find engaging. So if you can, I've listed our social media handles on the slide. So if you have stuff that you need to send to us, you can DM us on Instagram, or message us on Twitter or on Facebook, and we'll, if it's as long as it has a California Indian focus, we're happy to give it a share. Okay, so the final slide. If you have any other questions, I've listed the magazine's website so you can find more information. And then I think one of the slides included my email address. If you wanted to reach out, or if you have pitches or any other ideas, you can email me. It's terria@heydaybooks.com. And I'm happy to talk to you. It's been pretty busy, and actually we start production of the magazine in about a week. So if I don't get back to you right away, I apologize, but I will get back to you at some point and try to address any questions that you happen to have. Thank you so much for having me and hosting me here, Regina, and inviting me to be a part of this, Allie. I appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you so much. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of different kinds of media, and they really fit well together. And so I'm really excited that we were able to have someone from a weekly and then someone from a magazine. And then we also talked a little bit about press releases and op-eds and things of that nature. Because one thing I wanted to mention, I think it's something like News from Native California. It's such a beautiful magazine, and it's really amazing. So I would suggest that everyone subscribe, and that people also subscribe to the Two Rivers Tribune, because it's so amazing to have a local newspaper if they're, obviously from the Klamath and Trinity Rivers. But, all of it is important. It's important for have your local newspapers, and it's important to have larger, more beautiful newspapers like News from Native California. And also, one thing that I think is really important to remember is once you get published in a newspaper or a magazine, then that's your opportunity to hit it hard on social media. Because then you can share those with all your followers and different people and ask other people to share. And it's just an opportunity to get your story more out there. Because like I said, once the story is published, that's not the end of our work. And so with that, I wanted to introduce Pua, who is our social media volunteer guru right now at Save California Salmon. And she also worked really hard on Mauna Kea. And she's going to share with us a little bit about social media and how to do social media. And then hopefully at the end of her talk, we're going to do a couple examples of video also.
All right, first of all, I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I learned just a lot in the last 20 minutes from these two beautiful ladies, so thank you so much. And before I start, I just want to start by saying I'm on We Out Land, and I was grateful enough to be here when they gave back to Lawat Island, and I was able to attend the event down in Eureka, and it was a blessing. And I hope, my hopes and my prayers for the future is that they give more land back, not just here, but around the world. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and my presentation. Hopefully you can all see that. Let's see. And so I'm just going to start here. O pua ko uinoa, o moko ke ave ko mokopuni, o mauna awa ke a ko mauna. So my name is Pua. Moko ke ave is my island and Mauna Kea is my mountain. So I just, since we're talking about storytelling, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm part Hawaiian and part Samoan. I'm from Hawaii. I have 4 children with my husband between the ages of 16 and 24. So they're all grown, thankfully. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes here. There it is. Okay. And so I went to school at Palamanui College in Hawaii, and I started off with graphic design. And I noticed that a lot of my graphic design was being inspired by my Hawaiian studies classes, so I changed my major to Hawaiian studies. This is my first digital. This is all done digital in Adobe Illustrator. My first piece of digital art that I did, and it was a self-portrait. So a lot of it has a lot of meaning to me because there's a lot of symbolism in here, and then we'll talk a little bit about that, about Native artwork and the sacredness of it a little bit later on in the presentation. And let's see. So I wanted to start off with this, and this is Taika Waititi. He is a filmmaker out of New Zealand. He's Maori. He won an Oscar recently, and in his Oscar speech, he said these words here, and it is, I dedicate this to all the Indigenous kids in the world who want to do art and dance and write stories. We are the original storytellers, and we can make it here as well. So I'm just going along with that.
Pua, real quick, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know that I think the screen share that you selected wasn't just the one for your presentation.
Oh.
And we see blocks over your presentation where I think it might be other documents that are pulled up.
Okay. Sorry.
I just want to make sure everyone can see everything because I know that you.
Can you see it now fully?
There's still some blocks. So I think when you go out of screen share or you do view options on your screen share, then you can select just the presentation. Although I don't know that you'll be able to see any notes alongside it. Yeah, I know it's confusing. It's like so many options.
Let me try it. I'll try it again.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
We see it. Try going full screen on the presentation.
Without the blocks?
There's still some blocks there, but it's not blocking the.
So weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me try it again.
Thanks for hanging in there, everybody, while we.
Yeah, sorry about that.
They're still there, but try to go full screen with your presentation.
Okay. Ooh. Maybe I'll. See if I can move this up here. I think I know what you're talking about. Can you see it? Can you see it a little bit better now?
That's better.
Okay.
So it might be that it's notes that are covering it or something like that.
Let me see if I can close it down a little bit. Sorry.
That's okay. If you do like 2 panes, if you shrink down your presentation maybe a little bit and then put your notes next to it, then that might work.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. See if I can do that. If not, I'm gonna wing it.
Also, I'm happy to share if you want me to. I have your presentation pulled up now. Oh,
yeah, that'd be great. If you could do that, that'd be great.
Okay, let me hold on 1 second. And I apologize for the technical difficulties, but this is the world we live in now, as we say during all of these. So I'm going to do screen share.
Let's try it. See if it works.
How's it going, Regina? I hear clicking, so I tend to think that she's doing something over there.
Yeah. There we go. Yay. Okay, I think we're on the next. Thank you, Regina. I think we're on the next slide already. Yeah, we're on. You can go to the next one when you're ready, Regina. Okay, thank you. I see it, it's up. Can everybody see that? And when you're ready, Regina, we can move to the next slide because I think we're on there. Uh-oh. Carrie, can you share it?
Let me give it a try. I just won't be able to see anything else that's going on.
I'll make it quick. It'll be quick now.
All right, I'm gonna try. Screen share. There we go. Here.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna go present, and you're on the next slide.
Next slide. All right.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. So we went over the quote. So here we are with "We are the original storytellers," and I've been hearing stories all my life. So a lot of our stories are connected, of course, to the land, and I know with Native Americans, we have similar beliefs. So with Hawaiians and Native Americans, we have similar beliefs. So I know that I know we can relate when I say that we are the original storytellers. And a lot of that goes back to our genealogy and our creation stories, and those trace back to the land. Our genealogy traces back to the land itself. So, and I'm just talking a little bit about my own personal creative process. And so the first thing for me is relationship and creativity. And so I ask myself, why am I doing this work? How do I relate to this work? And what was that moment that sparked it for me? And I've had several. And I know with media, a lot of those moments happen for people. So I think that's why it's really important. Oh, can we go to the next slide, Carrie? Sorry. Oh yeah. So that for me, like I said, relationship and creativity is really important. And then we can go to the next slide. And so I work currently in EOP at HSU. I do a lot of their social media. I just did some digital short videos with some of our students. And I did the interviews via Zoom, and I edited them in Adobe Premiere. So those are some programs that you can take a look at when you're creating things for social media, and then also for web pages. Zoom, obviously we're on, it's pretty easy to navigate through. Adobe Premiere, it looks difficult, but really, honestly, you can learn a lot off of YouTube. So that would be my recommendation. If you want to learn something about Adobe Premiere or Zoom, you can take a course on it, or you could just YouTube it. Vimeo is another video program that a lot of grassroots organizations use. I know we used it a lot in Mauna Kea. This particular link here is to a Vimeo video about Kamea Hader, who is an artist. He created that art piece on the building there. It's a piece about our moon goddess, who her name is Hina. And if you can take a closer look at it, it's actually sort of like a spin off the Statue of Liberty. So instead of, she's holding a taro leaf, and she's holding the moon instead. So I guess I can't stress enough how much media can help shape ideas and perspectives. And this is just a really good link to take a look at when you get the chance. So, and we can move to the next slide. The other thing I try to be with the things that I create is informative and inspirational. And this is a picture of the Klamath River. And I think it's one of the pictures that are in our files that we have. We have quite a few photos to use for Save California Salmon. But yeah, this is a personal thing for me. I like to be informative and inspirational when I'm creating pieces. And you can go to the next slide, please. And the next thing is, I am still learning. I just started with Save California Salmon, and I'm still learning about the history of what's going on with the dams. So my suggestion is, if you're going to be a part of a movement, make sure you learn the history. Most people and most media don't acknowledge this history that we're going through right now. And a lot of that has to do with being, that the land has been stolen. So connecting, if you're in a movement, connecting with land and connecting with the native peoples of that place to get information is really good. These are 2 links. The first one is from Dams Out, and it's more of an informational video about what's going on with the dams, with the Klamath Dam. And then the second one is a video with Susan Maston talking about the Klamath Salmon Wars. And in the video, they talk about a tense moment where the Yurok tribe was being confronted with some men with billy clubs. And they started singing a ceremonial song. And one of the things that caught my attention in this video is that the person that was being interviewed said that the people with the billy clubs were scared of their spirituality. So, and how that relates to media is I like to use a lot of native language and a lot of native songs because there is power in that. There's energy in that. And we can move to the next slide. I also have, I'm from the Big Island of Hawaii, and I have been working with Antipua Case on the Mauna Kea movement. We actually had something scheduled, a speaker series scheduled at HSU before COVID happened. And she was going to be a speaker along with Kayleen Sisk, who is with the Winnemem Wintu tribe. And they are really good friends. And they're really good women that I really look up to. So these are links to what's going on with the Mauna Kea movement and also some artwork that was created for this movement. So I'm just putting in links in here for examples on, I guess I'm just gonna say that even for social media, digital and digital filmmaking, like short films, is really a good way to get out to people and have them take interest in your movement. And we can go to the next slide. So this Instagram account here is Huli. It is a part of the Mauna Kea movement. And I wanted to show you a short clip of the short videos that they have in here, but I'm not gonna do that because I'm having problems sharing my screen. But if you have a chance, check out @Huli, the @Huli Instagram page. They have a good mix in there of short digital videos. As you see on the screen here, they have a certain layout and a way that they, and certain colors that they use that are identifiable to them. And also they, you know, they have different call to actions in here. Things that need urgency, you can kind of tell right off the bat, but I feel like it's a good example of how to use social media for your movement. And we can move to the next slide. And for me, if you're going to be working in these movements, I feel it's really important to remember that at the heart of everything are the people. And these are different photos of both the Mauna Kea movement and Save California Salmon movement. Some of these kids in here, these kids in here are my nephews. So it's important also to remember that we're doing this not just for us, but for the next generation. And also in these photos are on the bottom right there, we have what started off the Mauna Kea movement is we had a lot of our elders on the mountain. And that was inspiration enough for a lot of us who are Hawaiian, who live and breathe the culture, because if we see our elders there, then that means, you know, it's important. We have to be there too. And you can move to the next slide. Then the other thing I think about is, well, the other thing that social media is good for is visibility and connectivity. Obviously, without social media, you know, some of these grassroots movements, they wouldn't even be seen. So making our causes visible, and then also connecting our causes. So this artwork is, it's with Antipua Case and also Chief Kayleen Sisk. They're, like I said before, they're really good friends, and the blending of those two cultures and connecting our causes through social media and through each other really is something that's very important as well. So we can move to the next slide. And now we're here at Save California Salmon. So I actually reached out to Regina to see if she would need help with social media. And these are some of the pieces. Some of the pieces that you see online are things that I've recently created. I try to be mostly informative, first of all, when I'm creating a piece. So you want to get the main details out there. And then anything else that you want to add into that information, you can place into captions, either on Instagram or Facebook. You can do that on either one, and also Twitter. So, and we can move to the next slide, Regina. And so these recent ones that I created, I used Canva. So Canva is a wonderful program that you can use to create social media graphics. It's really simple to use. They have really easy tutorials in there too that you can follow. So they're a great resource. We're talking a little bit about how to use Instagram. Is when you post these, you can also post them to either on Instagram or Facebook. You can post them to your stories, which is an easy way to reach out to people. And it's easy really to share a post that you put onto Facebook or Instagram through to your Facebook or Instagram story. We also have Twitter that we use. Twitter I use mostly. Twitter I think is a good way to get quick information out there. Use your hashtags. That's a good way to use Twitter. But yeah, use Canva. Canva, the main reason for this slide was to let you know that Canva is a good app to use to create social media graphics. And we could go to the next slide. I do, when I'm creating these and I'm using artist work, I try to use the whole art piece, because I know that with native symbols and native artwork, there's meaning in that. And one of the main things I would say is, if you're going to use artwork, whether it's native or not, ask permission. And also obviously there's copyright laws, but for native works, symbols and artwork in particular, I know there's sacredness in some of those pieces, and so they either don't want them displayed, or there's a certain way that they want them displayed. I recently remember seeing something, a movement, a graphic going around on social media of a Native American man and a Black man during the Black Lives Matter movement, and it was a meme, and I can't remember the details of it, but I do remember somebody posting that somebody used that picture and they didn't mention who those people were. So it's important definitely to ask permission and to know, what you're posting and who you're posting. And we can go to the next slide. And this is the first piece of work that I created to sign the petition that you're all seeing moving around on social media now. So this this really activated our account. I think on IG alone, we went from 230 followers up. We're up to about 500 followers right now on IG. So artwork help. This is an art piece by Lynn Riesling, and I think it's powerful. I think it's something that's catches the eye of people. And yeah, this was my first piece that I did. And we can go to the next slide. This is the last slide, and I think Regina's going to talk a little bit more about this. This is a movie, a film that it was created by Gather, and we have some members of the Yurok tribe that are in it. And that's it for me. I'm so grateful I was able to be on today. Thank you guys for listening to me. I'm new to all this speaking stuff, so I hope I was helpful with some of the apps that I told you to take a look at, and some of the background of working with Indigenous movements. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pua, and thank you so much to everyone. If I can share my screen, we're going to show a 2-minute trailer of Gather, just to show an example of really well done documentary. But also, as we said, it's also really important. Unfortunately, we're having screen sharing issues today, but it's really important also to just do little videos too of your actions and where you're at. I've noticed some people go on Facebook Live at rallies and they'll get thousands of views, and that really gets out there to people. So it's important for people who know how to use video cameras to make really good videos, but not everyone's going to do that. And so do what you can. But I'm going to try to share again. Please, for everyone to remember that most of us live in very rural areas, and also we have older computers, so sometimes we can make things happen and sometimes we can't. So I'm going to try to share the screen, and if I can share it, we'll watch the video, the trailer for Gather, and if we can't, we'll just go directly to question and answer.
Our ancestors saw the world end once. Our whole life was gone. Now we're on the other side of the apocalypse.
Wrongs that have been done to Native peoples are just so sickening.
I mean, they even had slogans like "Kill the Indian, save the man." That's genocide.
Millions of people all across the Americas systematically wiped out, starting here on the East Coast. That's the reason that we don't have that relationship with some of those traditional foods anymore. What's popping? I see onions.
Yeah, we have red onions, yellow onions, squash.
You ready? We're salmon people. Like, what do we do if our salmon don't come back? What I've come to understand is if we want to maintain our culture, then we have to have buffalo as a vital part of our communities.
What we're doing is reintroducing our young people to the land, the food, and our traditional ways of healing.
Working at the farm has brought a lot of healing to my life.
I've been clean 16 years, June now. I learned to heal through harvesting our traditional food.
We're celebrating Apache foodways in a kitchen that was built by Apaches for Apaches.
It's this movement among all Indigenous people that they're fighting, they're listening, and it's like music. When you hear the drum, it's calling you, and it's Mother Earth. Mother Earth's heart's beating, and she's talking to all of us that we need to do something.
And yeah, we just showed that because we wanted to do an example of what video media looks like. And I also wanted to show beyond some of the live actions videos we wanted to show, we were hoping to show maybe just a short clip from Instagram.
Welcome back, everybody.
Sorry about that.
Now, while the Democrats have been laying out
sorry, I guess YouTube went on to the next thing. But we wanted to show like a short video just from Instagram from Ancestral Guard, Sammy Gensaw's Instagram account, because they do a lot of really short videos and they get tons of views. And so I just think it's important to know that there's all different levels of this. There's all different levels of how you share media, and they're all important. And it's important that everyone engages, whether you feel like you're a professional or not. So on that, I was hoping we would have some questions and answers. So if you do have questions and answers, please drop them into the chat. Into the question and answer, not into the chat. But there was one question and answer earlier that I did answer directly in the chat, but I wanted to answer it here too, in case anyone else was confused about the difference between a press advisory and a press release. So a press advisory is usually very short. It just has your title, your contact information, and who, what, where, and why. So maybe my press advisory would be like, local people to rally for the Klamath River at the California State House. And then it would just say what time, what the date is, and how to get a hold of us. There would be no more information, and it would probably come out like at least 3 or 4 days beforehand. And then after that, I would probably call the reporters and let them know to expect a press release. And so what that does is it gives reporters a chance to put you on their schedule, because press releases usually are longer. They go out the day before. And so if a reporter is really busy, they're not going to necessarily last minute put it on their schedule. So advisories are really helpful in that way compared to a press release. You can also find a lot of this information online, and we'll probably be posting a media primer that we have from the Klamath Justice Coalition, I believe, on our website after this. So if we have any more questions for our panelists, please let us know. All right, well, I don't see any questions and answers. Do any of the panelists have questions and answers questions for each other? Okay, well, then we get to end a couple minutes early today. So again, I wanted to encourage everyone to fill out your evaluations for the series, and also to schedule to come next week for our youth panel with the Klamath Tribes Youth Council, the Hoopa High School Water Protectors Club, and a lot of Rogue Climate, Ancestral Guard, and a lot of really amazing youth. The youngest youth we're going to have speak next week is 11 years old, and he is an amazing speaker. So we're really excited for this panel. We're also going to continue with the Water Action August by having a lot of actions that you can do there. Also, since this was a media webinar, if you can, please go to all of our social media accounts and share. Please also note that I dropped in the question right here, or in the chat right here, how you can do your own letters to the editors and opinions. Letters to the editors are really easy, and it's a way to really get the word out within your community. And also, please sign the change.org petition on undamming the Klamath River. And if you can, please check out our website and our flyers on the symposium that's happening at the end of August that is connected to this webinar series, because we're trying to get a really diverse presentations and papers. So if you have anything that you want to present that has to do with water protection, Native advocacy, or science, then please get involved with this webinar, the symposium. And then on the third week, I think the third week or second week of September, we're also going to have information going out about our new Mobilizing for Water Justice webinar series. And in that series, we're going to be covering issues throughout the state of California. So we'll be dealing with water privatization in Southern California. We'll be dealing with issues of clean drinking water in the Central Valley, as a lot of people in California do not have access to clean drinking water. And we'll be dealing with, where does your water come from? And we'll be having people talk from Northern California Native communities on how water is moved in California. And then we will also be talking about undamming the Klamath River. And these webinars will be very different, as they'll just be short talks, and then there'll be a lot of action, and we're going to have a lot more interactive activities within these webinar series. So please follow us on social media. Please to turn in your evaluation forms if you're doing the certificate program, and please get involved with the symposium that is happening at the end of September. I do not see any more questions, so we are going to go. And thank you so much for joining us today. And please do what you can to be a voice in your communities and support your communities in every way. Please stay safe. If you need to evacuate, do it and wear a mask. And thank you so much for being with us today.